May 2015, you were out for lunch with your father.
Yes, I was. out.
So pick the story up from there.
I was out for lunch with my dad, and he'd been with us for the weekend, and it was our last lunch before he flew back home. And we were having just a nice, lovely lunch. We had a little bit of wine, nice meal, and then the conversation started getting a bit weird. And then he left, but I actually don't remember that part. The very next thing I remember is waking up naked and cold in a hotel bed.
The conversation started to get weird with your father?
With my father. So from that, we actually think that the last thing that I had there was a little glass of grappa. And he had a couple of sips of it, and I had the rest. And he similarly had some weird effects from those couple of sips. And then I lost a complete 5 hours of my life and woke up in a hotel bed next to someone I'd never seen.
How much had you been drinking? Because you say that your lunches with your father can regularly be 9 hours. They can start at lunch and finish as a dinner.
Yes, actually they can. In this case, we had a bottle of wine. We might have had a glass of Prosecco before we started. We each had a glass of grappa, and then I had a second glass of grappa. So it was by no means a quiet lunch. It was definitely a boozy one. The last thing I remember is being with my dad. I'm told that we went to this bar. It's a bar I've never been to before. I don't know how I would have gotten there. And you're correct, the CCTV does show me being incredibly flirty. I believe that I was dosed with GHB, which is a date rape drug of choice, unfortunately, for a number of reasons. One of them being that when you mix GHB with alcohol, apparently it has an ecstasy-like quality, and it makes a victim act in that way.
Right.
Basically, you would kiss anybody.
So this, your alleged attacker, and I'm sorry, we have to use that terminology, it had access to, so you think it was in the grappa?
I have literally no idea.
But if your father started to act a bit peculiar...
So we think it might have been there. One of my lawyers believes I was probably dosed twice, given the length of my blackout.
So that alleged attacker had access to the restaurant drink?
It was a local restaurant that's quite busy. Things are served on the bar, and it would have been pretty easy to intervene, unfortunately.
And so the moment where you wake up and you realise that you have this gap in your memory, you wake up in a hotel room with your alleged attacker lying on the bed next to you. You are naked.
I was naked, and I was underneath, I think, like a bedspread. And that was actually the first thing that I remember, because it had a really particular texture. And I woke up to this feeling of, where am I? Because this isn't mine. And I could feel it on my naked skin. And I went in and out for a little while. And then when I finally came to, I looked over my shoulder, and there was this man who I had literally never seen before. I'd gathered up all of my things, and I went and I hid in the bathroom of the hotel room for a little while. And I phoned a friend, and that's the friend who phoned the police. And when I was exiting the bathroom to make my way out of the hotel room, that was when he told me, oh, don't worry about it, nothing happened, you just had a bit too much to drink.
And so your friend, now this is the friend that you called is, as you say, sort of a casually romantic friend.
At the time,
had actually had sex that morning with that friend.
Yes.
So, I'm assuming it was harder for you to tell whether or not that had actually happened with your alleged attacker.
I have literally no memory of that time.
Yeah.
Literally none. There's nothing there. So I am not a witness to my own crime.
Yeah.
So, but there must be some sort of science to back this up. With the toxicology report, you would have had, was all of that done on you? All of that, but you would hope to think that the moment you went to the police, that would roll out in front of you.
So I was with the police from about 10:30 that evening, the night that I was raped. They didn't actually take a urine sample for toxicology until nearly 2 a.m.
Why?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask them. The woman who was there doing the kit seemed to be quite new. She was reading the instructions very carefully. I think that might have been part of it. Nobody from the Sapphire unit, the specialist sexual assault unit, became involved until 3 o'clock in the morning, I believe they phoned me, and I'd been with the police since 10:30.
And was there something where they said that they wouldn't examine you because of the amount of alcohol in your body?
So I have the police saying that I was too intoxicated on whatever I was intoxicated on to consent to a medical exam. So I quite literally have police witnesses to my state of being incapable of giving consent multiple hours after this sex happened.
And yet you obviously were okay to consent to sex according to this.
Exactly. The toxicology report itself is flawed. For whatever reason, the police provided the laboratory with the wrong timeline. So the entire toxicology report is based on the idea that my last memory is around 7, when my last memory is around 4 or 5. And I've brought this to the attention of both the police and the CPS multiple times, and they haven't had the math redone. And that in and of itself could have made this a much more straightforward case. And it's part of why I believe that in doing this crowdfunding on the GoFundMe page, that I will have success, because it actually is a really strong case if you do the math properly.
In the police report, it stated that he didn't have alcohol in his blood. He was found in possession of substances believed to have been LSD and Viagra. You claim that you were told by the police that they found a used condom in the room, and he filmed you.
He did. The police told me a year after the assault that he filmed me naked and unconscious on the hotel bed for 1 minute and 2 seconds, and that he had told the police that he planned to use it later for personal reasons.
Now, the CPS say, having looked carefully at all the available evidence, a specialist prosecutor decided that there was insufficient evidence for a realistic prospect of a conviction in this case. At the request of the victim, the case was subject to a further review at the head of our rape and sexual offences team, who upheld the original decision. A Metropolitan Police spokesman told us that you made a number of complaints to the Met about its investigation. These were passed to the Independent Police Complaints Commission. The complaint was independently reviewed by the IPCC and not upheld.
Absolutely.
So far your total is £8,648 for your crowdfunding, the fact that you would like to bring this private prosecution. What do you think are your chances of success?
I think they're pretty good, to be honest. So the CPS's response is all about the details that I didn't have at the time of the appeal. So the appeal was back in September of 2015. I wasn't actually given the toxicology report until February of 2016. I didn't know that he had no alcohol in his system. I didn't know that he had Viagra on him. And I didn't know that they got the timeline wrong until well after my appeal window closed. So their appeal is based on bad facts. So I think that given the support I've had overnight, which has been amazing, I've had amazing messages, I've had a couple hundred people give £5 or £10 just because they believe in this, and that has just been so meaningful. Both men and women believe in this, and I'm really hoping that we'll get to the total to be able to bring not just my private prosecution, but another one very quickly thereafter, because I want to make it clear that rape is a prosecutable offence in the UK.
All right.
Thank you.
Emily, thank you very much.
Thank you.